A young man takes a determined step forward, his sneaker hitting the pavement with purpose. He breaks into a run, rushing down the city sidewalk with a clear destination in mind. This is Juingong, whose name means protagonist, a fate his parents wished for him. As he bursts into a shop, his friends greet him warmly, announcing his arrival. He explains that he was often teased for his name but never cared because he genuinely wants to be a hero. Ngong asks if the game is in stock and his friend confirms he set a copy aside for him. It's the remake of a famous game called Night Saga, now re-released as Night Saga RE. The game tells a story of the great conflict unfolding between the human and demon races. Players can choose to play as the human hero, rogue, a warrior in shining armor, or they can side with the demons in their dark fiery realms surrounded by powerful allies. The other option is to play as Zephyr Ragnaros, the Demon King's second son. Ngong has cleared the original game over 10 times, knowing every character item and event. This new version is even more exciting because it's the first one released for virtual reality. Back at home, he heads straight for his advanced VR gaming chair. He carefully holds the small game cartridge ready to insert it into the machine. The young man then places the sleek VR helmet over his head, settling into his seat. With his arms crossed, he sits confidently, fully prepared to dive into the game world. He plans to enjoy a light session for today, which for him means about 8 hours of play. As the system boots up, vibrant streams of digital light envelop him completely. He finds himself in a strange sunlit room, wondering if he even logged in correctly, since this isn't the usual starting area. He stops talking, noticing his own reflection and the strange pointy ears on his head. Looking at his new body, he sees a white-haired boy with red eyes and wonders who this character is. A hoarse voice suddenly calls from the door, sarcastically asking if the slacker is still asleep. An orc warrior then opens a curtain demanding that he leave quickly because they have a morning schedule. The young man is impressed by the realistic graphics, but his comment only leaves the orc confused. He realizes he can interact and talk to the characters, a feature that was never announced. He nervously asks the orc's name, but the warrior seems uncomfortable with the question. The orc asks if he forgot about him, Karak, and then tells him to hurry as everyone is waiting for Prince Shutra. 29. Ngong freezes, realizing it must be Shutra Ignis, the 9th son of the Demon King, even though he's never chosen a character. Remembering the game's controls, he raises his hand, intending to open his status window. A holographic screen immediately appears, confirming that the command worked as expected. The window shows that his name is Shutra Ignis and all his stats are a pitiful 5 points lower than those of a normal NPC. After seeing his poor stats, he decides to check what skills he has. The screen displays 2 skills, Conquest and something called Protagonist Bonus. He stares at the name in disbelief, wondering if this is the protagonist bonus he knows. Karak pokes his head around the curtain again, yelling at him to hurry, and Shutra quickly agrees. He steps out from behind the curtain, following the impatient orc warrior outside. But as he steps out into the daylight, he stops, shocked by the sight before him. An army of orc soldiers is gathered in formation, looking ready for a great battle. He asks Karak why they are on a battlefield, but the orc tells him to stop and not waste time as they have to deal with the Red Lightning guys. Karak cheers that it's his first deployment, but Shutra panics, asking what happened to the tutorial. He realizes they are going up against the rebellious Red Lightning orc tribe who have already raised their army. His mission alongside the 7th prince and 8th princess is to suppress this very rebellion. He questions why they only brought 10 men for his first battle, but Karak clarifies it's just a recon mission. The orc then asks if he ate something strange, pointing out his weird behavior, but the prince just stares back. Ignoring the comment, the young prince raises his hand to summon another game interface. A holographic mini-map appears before him, which he plans to keep active to help navigate. He immediately notices a hidden path marked on the map and wonders if it's a secret event. Meanwhile, Karak studies a physical map, concluding that their current route will take far too long. Shutra confidently tells his companion to follow him, claiming he knows a much faster shortcut. Though skeptical, the orc squad follows their young prince through the dense, unfamiliar woods. The so-called shortcut turns out to be a perilous climb up a steep and treacherous cliff face. The intense physical effort leaves Shutra sweating and struggling to catch his breath. After the difficult climb, the group arrives at a massive ancient stone door set into the mountainside. The door is adorned with heavy ornate ring handles, showing it has been sealed for a long time. Karak is amazed, asking how he found this place and if he's secretly a mage, but Shutra dismisses the idea. Seeing how exhausted the prince is, Karak asks if he's okay and Shutra laments his low level 1 stamina. He tells them to wait as he steps forward onto a glowing sigil on the ground right in front of the door. The moment he steps on the sigil, golden flames erupt from the ground, swirling around him. The sudden surge of power catches him completely off guard, leaving him stunned and confused. As the energy envelopes him, a notification appears announcing that he has successfully leveled up. He stares at his interface in disbelief, wondering how he could have leveled up just by walking. His status screen confirms that all his stats have increased by 2 points and he has gained 2 skill points, making him realize how powerful his bonus is. A small smile forms on his face as he understands the true potential of his unique perk. Karak pulls him from his thoughts, urging him to move quickly, and the prince agrees to follow. He feels confident about what awaits him, knowing he is not alone and that he has trusted allies by his side. Most importantly, he realizes that his protagonist bonus means that even a disaster can turn into a great opportunity. The group advances into the dark cave whose jagged icy walls hint at the dangers that await. Karak comments that the tunnel appears to have been dug by dwarves who he claims lived in the demonic realm long ago. As they venture deeper, the orc warrior suddenly stops, his eyes wide with surprise at the discovery. The entire squad explodes with excitement upon finding a hidden treasure trove of abandoned dwarven weapons. While the orcs celebrate the discovery, Shutra remains calm, observing the treasure with a thoughtful expression. He attempts to pick up a powerful-looking sword, but is blocked by system messages informing him that his level and attributes are too low. Undeterred by the restrictions, he decides the best option is to save the items for later. He simply points at a weapon and thinks the command to put it away in his inventory. As he expected, the item disappears and appears in his inventory slot, confirming that the system works intuitively. However, upon checking his mini-map again, he notices several red enemy dots suddenly appear. Realizing that the dots represent approaching enemies, he quickly shouts for everyone to retreat immediately. Before the orcs can react, a strange glowing red crystal materializes between 2 of them and begins to crack. The crystal then explodes violently, releasing a powerful shockwave of pink energy that sends the soldiers flying. From the smoke and debris, a red-skinned warrior steps forward, his tribe emerging from the shadows. He is Kachin, the Red Lightning tribe's commander, and he taunts them for falling into his trap. Without another word, the enemy leader gives the order for his soldiers to charge and eliminate everyone. The 2 orc tribes clash violently in the narrow cave, the sound of battle echoing off the walls. Karak fights fiercely on the front lines, defending his men against the overwhelming enemy forces. Shutra stands frozen in the middle of the battle, clutching a sword as one of his soldiers falls nearby. He knows he has to do something and considers trying to land a last hit on a foe to gain some easy EXP. Seeing a red orc distracted while fighting one of his allies, the young prince sees his chance. He rushes forward and swings the cheap sword with all his strength, aiming for a decisive blow, but the weapon shatters harmlessly against the enemy's tough hide, leaving the prince stunned. The red warrior turns around slowly, its eyes glowing with fury as it focuses on its small attacker. It lets out a terrifying roar and lunges toward him, causing Shutra to scream in absolute panic. The enemy stomps the ground with incredible force, cracking the stone as it charges forward. A single powerful punch connects with the prince, sending him flying backward through the air. His health plummets to a critical 1 point, and he stares at the notification in sheer terror. The enraged orc looms over him, ready to land the finishing strike and end the fight. He shuts his eyes and lets out a final scream, bracing himself for the inevitable end. But just then, Karak leaps in front of the prince, absorbing the fatal blow himself to protect him. The loyal warrior turns and shouts for his highness to escape immediately while he still can. Sutra stares at his own trembling hands, trying to convince himself that this is only a game. He decides he's had enough for one day and tries to open the menu, complaining about how hyper-realistic the game is. The prince looks on with a flushed, confused expression, trying to process the grim situation around him. He checks his skills again, but the window now shows none available, erasing the buffs he saw earlier. His eyes widen in shock and disbelief, a bead of sweat running down his temple as the truth sinks in. He scrolls through the menu options in a panic, realizing with horror that there is no log-out button. As his allies continue to fight and fall around him, he sits on the ground, wondering if he is truly trapped in the game. His attention is drawn back to the battle as the enemy commander begins chanting and gathering magical energy. Kai-chan channels a powerful spell into his staff, a sinister grin on his face as pink energy crackles around him. He then leaps into the air and unleashes the full force of his magic directly down upon the helpless prince. Sutra looks up in terror, desperately thinking that he cannot allow himself to die in this place. The blast of destructive energy slams into him, the impact consuming him in a flash of pink light. He gasps for his last breath, his body going limp as his consciousness begins to fade away. The enemy commander stands triumphantly in the distance, having successfully eliminated his target. A system window appears in the darkness confirming that the prince's health has dropped to 0. Instead of logging out, he finds himself standing alone in a vast, empty blue void. He looks around the strange space completely bewildered as he recalls being attacked by the orc. A dreadful thought crosses his mind and he wonders with pure terror if he has actually died. Suddenly, a brilliant golden light shines in the distance, drawing his attention away from his dark thoughts. A mysterious voice echoes through the void, telling him that he is the destiny of this place. A beautiful goddess-like figure emerges from the light, urging him to conquer, subjugate, and rule. The prince is left completely stunned by the mysterious woman's powerful declaration. He turns away from the blinding light as his consciousness is pulled back from the strange void. Back in the cavern, the fierce battle between the two rival orc tribes rages on without him. The Red Lightning tribe's superior numbers are quickly overwhelming Carrick's outnumbered forces. Their commander, Kai-chan, watches with arrogance as his warriors easily dominate the fight. He mocks the intruders for their foolishness, calling them either ignorant or just plain stupid. As he gives the order to finish them off, a brilliant golden light suddenly erupts in the cave. The commander stares in shock at the resurrected prince, questioning how he could have returned. Shudra now stands confidently amidst the chaos, his body enveloped in a powerful golden aura. A system notification appears before him announcing he has acquired a new skill, psychokinesis. He stares at the message completely baffled as to when or how he could have possibly learned it. A spark of realization flashes in his eyes as he understands something fundamental has changed. His status screen now displays a subclass he has never seen before called Knight of Conquest. The enemy commander roars in absolute fury, ordering his soldiers to kill the prince first. Kara can only stare in disbelief, his eyes wide with shock upon seeing his leader alive and well. The sight of their resurrected prince inspires the green orcs who rally to his side with renewed hope. They form a defensive wall around Shutra, ready to protect him from the charging enemy horde. The young prince clutches his broken sword hilt, his attention still glued to his status window. He reads the name Knight of Conquest, a class that he knows never existed in the original game. His eyes glow with intense focus as he questions the reason behind all these unexpected changes. He raises his broken fist, channeling his newfound energy as a spell instinctively comes to mind. His eyes glow with intense power as he feels the words resonate within him, as if he has known them for a long time. He releases the spell declaring that the power of conquest is the true power of a king. A massive wave of golden energy erupts from him, enveloping his allies and empowering them. The system confirms the activation of his Under the King's Banner ability, empowering all allies in the area. Carrick and the other green orcs roar with newfound strength, feeling the power coursing through their veins. Filled with incredible vigor, the reinvigorated soldiers advance to eliminate their enemies. The empowered orcs tear through the ranks of the Red Lightning tribe with unstoppable, overwhelming force. The battlefield shifts rapidly as Shutra's allies easily overwhelm their once dominant foes. The red orcs are completely stunned by their enemies' sudden, inexplicable surge in strength. Kai-chan can only stare in disbelief at the ridiculous turn of events unfolding before him. He watches his army being decimated, his eyes finally falling on the source of the chaos. The commander realizes that the young prince is responsible for turning the tide of the battle. In a last desperate effort, Kai-chan summons enormous magical crystals to attack Shutra directly, but Karuk intervenes, shattering the ground with a powerful punch and creating a smokescreen. The loyal warrior then lunges forward, propelled by the prince's psychokinesis ability. Shutra points his broken sword, directing his trusted ally like a homing missile toward the enemy leader. Kai-chan watches in terror as the powerful orc warrior flies directly toward him at incredible speed. The enemy leader tries to protest, but it is too late to react or defend himself from the attack. Carrick's attack lands with devastating force, defeating the Red Lightning Tribe commander. With their leader gone, the remaining Red Orcs panic and flee, and Shutra orders his men to hunt them down. A notification appears explaining that a general's merit always belongs to their king. He is then bombarded with multiple level-up messages, a reward for his general's victory. The prince stares in confusion, wondering why his level suddenly increased so dramatically. Carrick is also baffled, looking at his hands and questioning the source of his newfound power. The young prince turns to his loyal general, a new confident smirk on his face. A flashback reveals a conversation where the prince's actions made the orc question his identity. Later that night, back at their camp, the victorious orcs celebrate their unexpected victory. Shutra, however, sits alone in his tent frantically searching for a way to log out of the game. He tries to calm himself down, considering the two most likely possibilities for his situation. The first is that he's trapped in virtual reality due to a critical bug that might be fixed later. The second possibility, though it sounds crazy, seems increasingly more plausible to him. He might have been transported into a world that is either the game itself or one very similar to it. The realistic backgrounds, the NPCs he can actually converse with, everything points to this conclusion. He even checks himself for any signs of pixelation, finding none, which only reinforces his theory. The terrifying thought crosses his mind that if this is a real world, he might have to die to escape it. He quickly dismisses that idea, deciding it's far too risky to even consider trying. Carrick's voice from outside snaps him out of his panic, asking if the prince has a moment to spare. The loyal general enters the tent, his face serious as he prepares to discuss something important. He informs the prince about a sudden duel, a topic that seems to have come out of nowhere. Carrick explains that he needs to know his leader's skill with a sword, but Shutra questions the necessity. The general tosses him a wooden training sword, which the prince catches with a surprised look. Carrick assures him not to worry, promising to go as easy on him as possible during their spar. Shutra scoffs at the orc's confidence, cheekily reminding him that he's talking to his prince. With a determined grin, he declares that if they're going to fight, they should do it properly. The orc warrior readies his own wooden sword, preparing to defend against his prince's charge. Shutra swings his sword at Carrick's side, but his attack is clumsy and easily dodged. A humorous flashback shows the prince's previous self feebly attempting to learn swordsmanship. Another memory reveals him trying to break a rock with a stick only for the stick to shatter. Back in the present, Carrick effortlessly parries the prince's attack, sending him stumbling backward. The prince falls to the ground, complaining that the orc hit him too hard and too suddenly. A system notification then appears announcing that he has successfully acquired basic swordsmanship. He stares at the message in complete disbelief, confused by this sudden and unexpected development. He wonders how and when he could have possibly learned the skill without any prior training. He then recalls the moment he learned psychokinesis, realizing he gained skills by experiencing attacks. Carrick, seeing the prince on the ground, suggests they end the duel, but Shutra quickly objects. The prince stomps his foot on the ground, a confident and determined smirk on his face. He declares that he is just getting started, ready to put his newfound skill to the test. With a renewed sense of purpose, he charges forward, his movements now much more fluid and precise. He meets Carrick's block with a powerful strike, a flash of light erupting as their swords clash. Carrick is surprised by the prince's improved movements, wondering why he struggled so much at first. The young prince keeps up his assault, feeling confident in his newfound abilities and control. He continues to trade blows with the much larger and more experienced orc warrior. Shutra lands gracefully after an exchange, his stance now solid and his movements sharp. He smirks at his companion, pointing out that the fight has become much more manageable for him now. The prince then asks Carrick what his current level is, and the orc recalls it being around 21. Shutra nonchalantly pulls up his own status window, a confident look on his face. He sees his own level is only 7 but boldly declares that he can catch up to the general in no time. He knows that unlike others in this world, he can easily check his level without any special spells. This gives him a huge advantage as he can see his detailed stats and strengthen them with bonus points. He leaps into the air, launching another powerful attack against the surprised orc warrior. The two continue their spar, the prince's movements becoming more and more refined with each clash. He realizes that with his unique advantages, he can get stronger and surpass everyone else much faster. As they fight, he remembers the main plot of the Night Saga game, specifically the Demon Realm arc. The story follows the protagonist Zephyr as he defeats his rival siblings to become the new Demon King. The most crucial part of this arc is the Day of Slaughter event, which is mandatory for the story. This event is a major incident where Zephyr kills all his siblings to secure his own ambitions. Since he is one of the siblings, he is obviously on that list of targets to be eliminated. He checks the current date, realizing he still has 5 years until the fateful event takes place. With this knowledge, his top priority becomes preventing the event and getting stronger than Zephyr. Karak finds him in the forest, asking why he's there and if he's forgotten about the day's meeting. The orc seems annoyed that the prince has no recollection of the important gathering. He urges the young prince to hurry, explaining that everyone is already waiting for him to arrive. Sutra nervously laughs as he sits at the head of the table facing his 2 older siblings. He greets them awkwardly and they sit across from him, one calmly sipping tea while the other looks on. His older brother, Chris Moonlight, tells him to speak comfortably as they are family after all. His sister, Caitlin Moonlight, introduces herself, noting that this is their first time meeting face to face. Chris warmly insists that he can just call him Big Brother, and Shutra nervously agrees. He recalls that these two were born to the 4th queen, Elaine, the queen of lycanthropes. He also remembers that in the game both Chris and Caitlin die a year before the Day of Slaughter. Their demise is at the hands of Zephyr and the Demon King's other children, a tragic event in the story. The primary reason for their downfall is the secret surrounding Caitlin's true parentage. She wasn't actually a child of the Demon King but was an illegitimate daughter from another affair. Caitlin suddenly questions him, asking why he fought the enemies instead of just scouting as planned. Before he can answer, she gets up and walks over to him, asking to see if he's been injured. She leans in close to inspect him for any wounds, catching the young prince completely off guard. She reminds him that he's the weakest of the siblings and needs to be more careful in the future. He is taken aback by their genuine concern, wondering if the Demon King's children are actually this close. Chris also chimes in, warning him that if he does anything reckless again, he'll be in for it. The prince stares at his siblings, questioning if they could actually be kind-hearted people. A determined glint appears in the prince's eyes as he devises a new plan to become stronger. He remembers that lycanthropes are known for having many aura users and thinks he can learn it easily. He turns to his older brother Chris, catching his eye before making a very strange request. With a cheeky smile and glowing eyes, he asks his brother to strike him with his powerful aura. Chris and Caitlin stare at him with looks of pure shock and utter disbelief. Sometime later, back at the main camp, the war against the Red Lightning tribe continues in full swing. A fierce battle unfolds with warriors from both sides facing off in a desperate fight for survival. The battlefield is a chaotic mess of explosions and fallen soldiers from both armies. A large armored orc warrior single-handedly faces off against several smaller red-skinned enemies. He easily deflects their attacks, sending them flying with his immense strength and skill. A single powerful punch from the warrior is enough to shatter an enemy's face on impact. The red orc screams in pain and shock, completely overwhelmed by his opponent's raw power. The warrior then delivers a devastating blow to the ground, sending a shockwave that decimates his enemies. A red-skinned general roars in fury, ordering his men to kill them all and offering a reward. The green orcs respond with their own war cry, ready to face the new enemy attack. Shutra suddenly finds himself back in the mysterious void, completely removed from the ongoing battle. The goddess-like figure from before appears again, her presence radiating immense divine power. He then sees 2 shadowy figures materialize behind him. Their identities a complete mystery to him. He wonders who these new characters are, as he is certain they never existed in the original game. The goddess places her hand on his shoulder. The prince is suddenly jolted awake, a bright light consuming his vision for a brief moment. He sits up, momentarily disoriented by the abrupt return to consciousness from the strange void. He finds himself back in his bed, the morning sun streaming into his tent through the entrance. He clutches his head, wondering if the entire experience was just a strange dream within the game. Karak's face suddenly appears right in front of him, startling the prince and making him scream. He jumps back in surprise while the orc calmly notes that he looks fine after his ordeal. The general questions why he begged Chris to hit him, pointing out that he knew this would happen. As Karak speaks, Sutra feels a strange energy flowing through him, a new power awakening. A system notification confirms he has acquired Aura Level 1, and he can now feel it within him. He excitedly explains his theory that getting hit by an aura can awaken one's own, which is half right. Karak then asks if the prince was responsible for the power surge during their last battle. After a brief pause, Shutra asks what happened while he was asleep, and the orc confirms big news. He reports that the main camp has also secured a major victory against the Barak tribe. The prince is confused as he thought only he and his siblings were sent to subdue the orcs. Karak explains that the main camp was led by General Bandel, an ogre worth 100 men. He recalls that Bandel is a ridiculously strong character and was his favorite to use as Zephyr. A sudden realization hits him, and he sees a new, unexpected opportunity presenting itself. He remembers that Bandel doesn't become Zephyr's subordinate until 3 years from now. This means he has a chance to recruit the powerful general to his own side before his brother does. He knows everything about Bandel, from his favorite gifts and food to the conditions for swaying him. The only way to sway Bandel is to defeat him in a one-on-one battle, a challenge he's now ready for. With his extensive knowledge of the game and his newfound abilities, he's confident he can succeed. He smirks, vowing to make the powerful ogre general his subordinate before Zephyr ever gets the chance. Back at Caitlyn's base, a new day begins and the siblings are in for a major surprise. Chris is in disbelief that his younger brother managed to master the basic stage of Aura in just 1 day. Shutra proudly explains that he dumped all his stat points into Aura, so this result was expected. He further elaborates that Aura enhances overall physical ability, making it a better long-term investment. His older brother is still amazed, wondering if this incredible growth is due to his Gonlerv heritage. Chris then asks if he can create a map of the tunnel system they discovered during their previous mission. Shutra confirms he has a mini-map and asks for some paper and a pen to draw it out for them. Chris is amazed by the detail, exclaiming that it's much better than the map he currently has. He excitedly calls his younger brother a genius, throwing an arm around him in a proud embrace. Caitlyn points out that since they wiped out the enemy squad, no one else knows about the tunnels. She then tells the young prince that she has one more important task for him to complete. The siblings head out into the vast mountainous landscape, ready to begin their next operation. Shutra finds himself on another scouting mission, accepting his role as the weakest of the brothers for now. He notes that at least this time they have reinforcements thanks to the credit they've earned. As they march through the forest, he notices 2 hooded figures observing them from the shadows. He is surprised to see his sister Caitlyn among them, her face partially hidden by the cloak. He asks why she's suddenly wearing a cloak, but she quickly shushes him, indicating they need to be quiet. She explains that she'll secretly tag along, just in case anything unexpected or dangerous happens. He is surprised by her trust but scoffs at the idea of an achievement focusing on his own goals. The other hooded figure introduces herself as Sira, his new adjutant for this important mission. Caitlyn tells him to focus on scouting and not to mind them as they will follow on their own. The group ventures back into the icy cavernous tunnel system they had previously discovered. They find that all the rooms are completely empty with no signs of life or valuable items. Karak remarks that the dwarves must have taken everything with them when they moved out long ago. The group continues their exploration, venturing deeper into the dark and mysterious caverns. Suddenly Karak stops, sensing that something is approaching them from the darkness ahead. Shutra checks his mini-map and confirms the presence of a large group of enemies nearby. He quickly opens his inventory, a confident and prepared look on his determined face. He pulls out a special flash magic item, a small potion he brought along just in case. He whispers instructions to Karak, telling him to have everyone shut their eyes on his signal. A massive swarm of glowing red eyes appears from the darkness, revealing a terrifying nest of spiders. These are rock spiders, monsters that move in swarms and possess a powerful paralytic venom. With the enemies now in sight, he gives the signal and throws the flash magic potion forward. The potion shatters on the ground, releasing a blindingly bright flash of intense golden light. The entire cavern is illuminated by the sudden explosion of magical radiant energy. The rock spiders screech in agony, completely disoriented and stunned by the unexpected flash. Shutra explains that the creatures are immobilized by light and orders his units to attack. The orc soldiers charge forward, their battle cries echoing through the massive icy cavern. They clash with the immobilized rock spiders, cutting them down with their powerful weapons. Shutra stands back, observing the battle and allowing his forces to handle the smaller threats. He pulls up his mini-map again, his eyes focused on the single larger red dot among the swarm. He knows that every pack has a leader, and this one is no exception to that universal rule. He calls out to Carrick, telling him to follow as they go after the main boss of the spider nest. The two of them break away from the main group, charging deeper into the heart of the cavern. They run past the ongoing battle, their focus solely on finding and eliminating the spider leader. They soon come face to face with a monstrous multi-eyed creature much larger than the others. Carrick lets out a fierce battle cry and leaps forward, swinging his axe with all his might. His weapon connects with the creature's tough shell, but it bounces off harmlessly, creating a bright spark. The orc warrior is stunned by the ineffectiveness of his powerful attack against the boss. He complains about the creature's incredibly tough shell, which his axe is unable to pierce. Shuktir recalls from the game that the monster's carapace is indeed insanely hard to break. He remembers that its only weakness is fire, but he doesn't have any fire magic at his disposal. The massive spider lets out a low growl, its many eyes glaring down at the two small intruders. It lunges forward, ready to attack, causing Carrick to brace himself for the incoming assault. The prince quickly shouts for his companion to use fire, reminding him of the creature's weakness. Carrick, however, is at a complete loss, questioning where he's supposed to find fire so suddenly. A new voice suddenly calls out to Shutra, instructing him to draw his sword immediately. He stares in disbelief, questioning if the voice he heard was actually channeling magic. His sister Caitlin appears with a powerful magical aura, asking if her enchantment will suffice. The massive spider lunges forward, its sharp mandibles ready to tear the young prince apart. With his sword now enchanted with fire, he confidently charges forward to meet the beast head-on. His eyes narrow with intense focus as he prepares to unleash the full power of his new weapon. He parries the creature's attack with his enchanted blade, the impact creating a powerful shockwave. He then leaps into the air, his cape billowing behind him as he prepares for a downward strike. He unleashes a powerful burning blade attack, engulfing the spider's many eyes in flames. The fiery attack spreads across the cavern floor, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. He lands gracefully, a confident and determined look on his face after the successful attack. He is then showered with multiple level-up notifications, a reward for defeating the boss. He checks his status and is pleased to see he has reached level 9, a significant milestone. His sister asks what the light was, and he dismisses it as a blessing that sometimes happens. He explains that it's a blessing from the Gandharva, a quick lie to cover his unique abilities. She then questions how he knew how to handle the spiders, and he claims he read about them in a book. Carrick suddenly calls for his attention, pointing towards a new discovery deeper in the cave. They find a massive ornate gate built into the cavern wall, a structure that seems out of place. The group cautiously walks through the gate, entering a large torch-lit chamber beyond it. The prince recognizes the chamber's design, a familiar sight from his time playing the game. He realizes they have stumbled upon a town portal, a discovery that opens up new possibilities. Carrick asks if he knows what the portal is, but Shutra claims he just has a feeling about it. He notes that the portal's design is definitely dwarven, a detail that confirms his suspicions. He recalls never seeing one while playing as Zephyr, but saw them a few times as the hero character. He remembers that the portals are activated by infusing them with a sufficient amount of magic. He tells his sister that he thinks the device is a portal, a statement that clearly surprises her. Sira agrees with the prince's assessment, and Caitlin asks if they know where it leads to. Carrick spots a nearby plaque with some strange writing on it which might hold the answer. The group gathers around the plaque to examine the inscription, hoping to find some clues. Caitlin notes that the writing is not the common demon language and appears to be dwarven script. She then asks if anyone can read it, but admits that she herself doesn't know the language. She turns to Sira for help, but the adjutant also apologizes for her inability to read the script. To everyone's surprise, Shutra casually reads the inscription aloud, identifying the portal's location. He continues to read, explaining that it's connected to another portal in the same network. He suddenly stops, confused as to how he can suddenly read and understand the dwarven script. A system notification then appears confirming he has acquired dwarven script level 1. Carrick is amazed by the prince's new ability, and Shutra can only confirm that it seems he can. Sira also questions when he learned the language, and Caitlin asks him to read the rest. He explains that the inscription says it will work if they put some magic into the device. He then asks his sister to infuse the portal with magic, but she tells him to do it himself. He sheepishly admits that he's not very good at it, a lie to hide the fact he can't use magic. Caitlin reluctantly agrees and infuses the portal with her magic, causing it to activate. The portal glows with a bright, ethereal blue light as the magical energy flows through it. A holographic map of the surrounding area materializes, showing the Jashuka mountain range. Shutra points out their current location and the position of the connected portal on the map. Carrick points out that the main force of the Red Lightning tribe is in front of that mountain range. Caitlin decides to stop for the day, needing to discuss the new strategic advantage with her brother. Back at the camp, Chris is ecstatic about the discovery of the portal, a game-changing find. He excitedly embraces his younger brother, calling him a good luck charm for their forces. He offers to do anything for him as a reward, a promise that the young prince is quick to accept. Sutra tries to refuse, but his brother insists, wanting to reward him as both family and leader. After a brief moment of hesitation, the prince decides to take his brother up on the generous offer. He makes a big request, something he's been thinking about for a while now to get stronger. He asks his older brother to teach him the legendary Beast God Fist martial art. Chris is stunned into silence by the unexpected and serious nature of his younger brother's request. Shutra explains that since his level is too low for weapons, he wants to learn powerful techniques. The Beast God Fist is a powerful S-rank martial art passed down through the lycanthrope royal family. He knows it's a big ask and starts to backtrack, figuring his brother will refuse the request. To his surprise, Chris agrees to teach him, a wide smile spreading across the prince's face. However, he clarifies that he can't teach him the secret techniques of the martial art. Instead of the Beast God Fist, he offers to teach his younger brother how to properly use aura. Sutra is left speechless by the offer, a mix of surprise and excitement on his young face. Seeing his silence, Chris assumes he doesn't like the offer, but the prince quickly reassures him. With the deal now settled, Chris gets a serious look on his face, addressing his younger brother. He asks if it's okay for him to think of him as another little brother just like Caitlin. The prince is taken aback by the heartfelt question, realizing the weight of his brother's words. He understands that this is a significant step in their relationship, a sign of true acceptance. He quickly realizes that this is a good offer and agrees to the new family dynamic. The two brothers shake hands, sealing their newfound alliance with a firm and determined grip. Caitlin looks on with a warm smile, happy to see her two brothers finally bonding. Sutra declares that they will do their best together, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. A system notification confirms that a normal alliance has been formed with his two siblings. The alliance status is still at a basic level, but it's a crucial first step for their future. The sun sets over the mountains, casting a warm orange glow over the entire landscape. Meanwhile, at the Red Lightning Tribe's garrison, a new and sinister plot is unfolding. The red orc soldiers stand guard, their expressions grim and their weapons at the ready. A new powerful-looking orc addresses his men, a cunning and cruel smirk on his face. He mentions their dear princess, hinting at a captive they have hidden within their camp. In a dark candle-lit tent, a young woman is bound by magical chains, a helpless prisoner. Sutra reviews his stats, noticing that his charisma is lagging behind all his other attributes. He recalls that at first all his stats went up by 2, but now charisma only increases by 1. He wonders why his charisma is growing slower, remembering a key detail from the original game. In Night Saga, appearance and charisma were 2 separate stats, each with a different function. He dismisses the thought, figuring it makes sense given his rapid growth in other areas. More importantly, he's about to hit level 10, a crucial milestone for any character in the game. He recalls that when the main characters reached level 10, their unique skills would also level up. Carrick's voice interrupts his thoughts, announcing that everyone is ready to head out for the mission. The prince agrees, a confident and eager smile on his face as he prepares for the upcoming battle. Carrick notes his good mood, but Shutra simply brushes it off, hiding his true excitement. The two of them step out of the tent ready to lead their forces into the fray once again. They stand before their assembled army, the orc soldiers ready and waiting for their command. With a determined look, the prince gives the order and the entire army begins to march forward. They head towards a dark and ominous cave entrance, the path to their next major battle. Inside the cave, lycanthrope soldiers are already engaged in a fierce battle with the local monsters. The wolf-like warriors fight with incredible ferocity, clearing a path to the ornate gate within. The main group arrives at the portal chamber, ready to begin the next phase of their operation. Two hooded lycanthrope mages are already there, inspecting the portal to ensure it's safe to use. They confirm that the portal connects to the Eska tributary, just as the prince had predicted. They also assure the group that the portal is functioning properly, a testament to dwarven craftsmanship. With the portal now confirmed to be safe and operational, Chris gives the order to move out. The two mages begin to activate the portal, channeling their magic into the ancient device. The portal activates, revealing a shimmering gateway to another location in the mountains. Shutra stares at the portal, a mix of awe and excitement on his young, determined face. He thinks to himself how amazing it is to see one of these gates in real life, not just in a game. His sister calls out to him, urging him to hurry up and join them as they prepare to step through. He snaps out of his thoughts and rushes forward, ready to follow his siblings into the unknown. They step through the portal and arrive in a new, unfamiliar location, a rocky and barren landscape. The prince looks around, taking in the new surroundings with a curious and observant expression. They stand on a high cliff overlooking a massive enemy encampment spread out below them. Chris is pleased with the discovery, confirming that their intel about the enemy base was correct. He estimates there are about 5,000 enemy troops, and their first priority should be the logistics officer. He outlines a plan for a pincer attack with General Vandal leading a frontal assault. However, Sira points out that something seems strange about the encampment below them. She notes that there are far too few troops, and Chris wonders where the rest of them could have gone. A distant sound catches their attention, a sign of a battle already in progress somewhere nearby. The prince looks towards the sound, confirming that there is definitely a fight happening over there. Chris instructs him to focus his aura into his eyes to get a better view of the distant conflict. He does as he's told, his eyes glowing with a faint white light as he enhances his vision. He can now clearly see the battle with the Red Lightning tribe fighting against an unknown force. He recognizes one side as the Red Lightning Orcs, but the other group is completely unfamiliar to him. The prince notes that the scale of the battle is too small to be General Vandal's main army. He recognizes the mysterious warriors as Dark Elves, a race known for their fierce combat skills. The rest of the group is surprised by this revelation, not expecting to see Dark Elves in this region. Shutra explains that he can tell by their small build and the fact that they are riding Dracos. Chris spots the Dark Elves retreating from the battlefield, a sudden and unexpected turn of events. He wonders if their commander has fallen as they are withdrawing with incredible speed. The group is left confused, questioning why the fight ended so abruptly and what it all means. The prince is particularly puzzled, wondering what Dark Elves could possibly be doing in this area. Later, back at their main camp, the siblings receive a holographic call from General Vandal. The general congratulates them on discovering the portal, a rumor he had already heard about. He commends Prince Chris's army for their impressive find, asking how they knew it was there. Chris gives all the credit to his younger brother, who humbly claims that he just got lucky. The general promises a handsome reward from the Demon King's castle for his valuable discovery. He then asks about a small skirmish that occurred near the Red Lightning Orc tribe's camp. The general explains that it was the Dark Elves who seemed to have jumped into the fight on their own. Chris is confused as he heard they were supposed to be reinforcements from the Demon King's castle. The ogre general clarifies that there's a problem, a serious complication in their plans. He reveals that the commander of the Dark Elf unit has been captured by the Red Lightning Orcs. Shutra asks who the captured commander is, a crucial piece of information for their next move. Vandal informs them that it's someone they know well, a person of great importance. The captured commander is none other than the sixth princess, Felicia Doomblade, another of their siblings. Chris and Caitlin are shocked to learn that their own sister has been captured by the enemy. She is the daughter of the third queen and a former Dark Elf princess with a twin brother named Sylvan. Shutra recalls that, in the game, both siblings were part of the fourth Princess Anastasia's faction. He wonders why Felicia has shown up in this region, speculating that she might be trying to take all the credit. Chris asks if the Red Lightning tribe knows that their captive is a Dark Elf princess. The general admits that he hasn't been able to confirm that information with his sources yet. The group discusses their plan, deciding to save her if possible, but without any prior negotiations. Chris declares that he has no intention of bowing his head to the enemy to secure her release. The ogre general agrees to gather more information and contact them if anything new develops. After the call ends, the three siblings stand in silence, contemplating their next move. Chris breaks the silence, a wry smile on his face as he comments on their sister's capture. Caitlin insists they have to save her if she's still alive, but her brother warns it won't be easy. She is taken aback by his hesitation, realizing the potential dangers of a rescue mission. With a determined look, she declares that they must save her as she is their sister after all. Chris hesitates, a bead of sweat running down his temple as he weighs the risks and rewards. He knows she's right, but the practicalities of the situation make him cautious about their approach. The lycanthrope soldiers stand guard outside the tent, their wolf-like forms ready for battle. Chris gathers his siblings and generals, laying out a simple and direct plan for the rescue. While General Vandal lures the main enemy force, they will launch a surprise attack from behind. He will then push into the center of the garrison to cause chaos while the others carry out their missions. Shutra confirms the mission objectives: burn the food storage, destroy the armory, and rescue Felicia. Chris adds a crucial condition. If things get too dangerous, they must pull back immediately. Caitlin objects, but her brother silences her, reminding her that he is also a unit leader. He argues that they can't let Felicia's selfish actions ruin their entire operation and risk more lives. Shutra realizes that Chris doesn't actually want to save their sister, a surprising and cold revelation. He wonders what could have happened between them to cause such a rift in their relationship. As the night falls, the forces of General Vandal begin their advance on the enemy encampment. The general leads the charge, his warriors letting out fierce battle cries as they rush forward. The ogre general roars, ordering his men to take down the Red Lightning tribe with all their might. Meanwhile, Chris and his unit watch the unfolding battle from a high cliff overlooking the camp. They observe the enemy's movements, waiting for the perfect moment to launch their surprise attack. From their vantage point, they see Vandal's forces clash with the enemy, explosions lighting up the night. The frontal assault is a chaotic mess of flying rocks and desperate hand-to-hand combat. A powerful ogre warrior from Vandal's army charges into the fray, ready to wreak havoc. He roars with fury, his eyes glowing with a menacing red light as he orders his men to kill them all. Carrick asks if they should join the fight, but Shutra tells him to wait for the signal. The two armies are locked in a brutal and bloody conflict with casualties mounting on both sides. The battle is a chaotic whirlwind of swinging axes and desperate savage cries of war. A large armored ogre warrior from Vandal's army stands his ground against the enemy horde. The general watches the battle intently, his expression grim and his focus unwavering. Vandal gives the signal and his entire army begins to retreat from the battlefield. Chris watches as the enemy camp is engulfed in flames, a result of their strategic retreat. He then addresses his own troops, telling them that it's their turn to enter the fight. The siblings stand ready, their faces determined as they prepare to lead their forces into battle. They charge down the cliff, their soldiers following close behind with fierce battle cries. The Red Lightning orcs are caught completely off guard by the sudden and unexpected flank attack. The lycanthrope and orc soldiers tear through the enemy ranks with savage, unstoppable force. Caitlin warns her younger brother to be careful as they rush into the heart of the chaotic battle. Shutra pulls up his mini-map, using it to navigate through the enemy camp with precision. He shouts for his unit to follow him to the left, a direct path to the enemy's food storage. Carrick roars with fury, ordering his men to kill every last one of the enemy soldiers. He clashes with a red orc, his powerful axe easily overpowering his opponent's weapon. The enemy cries out in pain and shock as he's sent flying by the force of the orc's attack. Carrick continues his rampage, a whirlwind of destruction in the midst of the enemy forces. He effortlessly deflects another attack, his skill and strength far superior to his opponent's. A system notification appears before Shutra, announcing he has learned dagger throwing level 1. He grins, a new and deadly skill now at his disposal to use against his unsuspecting foes. Carrick is amazed by the prince's new ability, but Shutra dismisses it, urging him to keep moving. They arrive at the food storage, and the prince orders his men to set it ablaze immediately. He suddenly remembers Felicia, a look of concern on his face as a dark thought crosses his mind. He tells Carrick they have to find Felicia first, but the orc is unsure how they can locate her. The prince pulls up his mini-map again, a confident and determined look on his young face. He explains that since Felicia is a neutral NPC, she should be marked as blue or purple on the map. His eyes widen in surprise as he spots a single purple dot in a nearby tent on the mini-map. He quickly tells Carrick to follow him, and they rush towards the tent where his sister is being held. They burst through the tent flap, their sudden entrance catching the occupant completely off guard. Shudra scans the room, certain that this is the right place, but Felicia is nowhere to be seen. A voice calls out his name, and he turns to see his older sister standing there, safe and sound. She is bound by glowing red chains, a magical restraint that keeps her from escaping on her own. The sixth princess, Felicia Doomblade, asks him how he managed to find her in the enemy camp. She is clearly surprised to see her younger brother, a look of disbelief on her beautiful face. He tells her it's too dangerous to stay and that he'll untie her so they can escape quickly. The princess remains silent, her expression unreadable as she processes the unexpected rescue. After freeing her, they escape the tent and begin to make their way back to their own forces. Felicia is surprised to hear that her other siblings are also there to save her from the enemy. She questions if someone who wasn't supposed to show up came to her rescue, a hint of suspicion in her voice. Carrick's voice suddenly cuts through the air, warning them that the enemy is closing in fast. Shutra quickly grabs his sister's hand, urging her to follow him to safety as they make a run for it. She is taken aback by his sudden use of the familiar term sis, a sign of their changing relationship. He continues to lead her through the chaotic battlefield, his focus solely on getting her to safety. Felicia suddenly shouts a warning, her eyes wide with terror as she spots a new threat. An enemy soldier appears behind Shutra and lands a powerful blow, sending him stumbling forward. He gasps in pain, a trickle of blood running from his mouth as the attack catches him off guard. The enemy then unleashes a fiery attack, a massive explosion of flames erupting from its hands. Felicia cries out her brother's name in a panic, fearing for his safety in the face of the attack. She rushes towards the enemy, her face a mask of fury as she prepares to retaliate. With a determined look, she clenches her fists ready to take on the red orc soldier herself. Her eyes glow with a fierce golden light as she taps into her own latent power. She unleashes a powerful blast of energy, sending the enemy soldier flying backward. The princess is surprised by the sudden emergence of a strange dark smoke from the enemy. A mysterious figure steps out of the smoke, its presence radiating an overwhelming and dark aura. System notifications appear announcing he has acquired magic control and fire arrow. A confident smirk spreads across his face as he realizes his new magical abilities. He is then attacked by a massive fiery beast, a powerful new enemy emerging from the chaos. He grins, a look of pure excitement on his face as he prepares to test out his newfound powers. He conjures a bow and arrow made of pure fire ready to take on the monstrous creature. He fires multiple arrows in quick succession, each one finding its mark on the enemy soldiers. He laughs with glee, amazed that he can now use real magic in this new and dangerous world. He continues to fire his magical arrows, reveling in his newfound power and abilities. A massive wave of icy energy suddenly erupts from the side, a new and unexpected attack. He is surprised by the sudden appearance of ice, a magic he hasn't encountered before. An enemy archer takes aim, his arrow pointed directly at the vulnerable princess. Shutra realizes the danger and quickly pushes his sister out of the way of the incoming attack. He puts himself in the path of the arrow, taking the hit to protect his sister from harm. Felicia is stunned by his selfless act, her eyes wide with a mix of shock and disbelief. Multiple ice shards rain down from above, a deadly barrage aimed at the young prince. He looks up at the attack, a determined and almost crazed look on his young, focused face. With a wide grin, he declares that this new power is his for the taking, ready to absorb it. The ice shards slam into the ground around him, creating a massive explosion of frozen energy. A silhouette of the prince stands amidst the icy smoke, a new power awakening within him. A system notification confirms he has acquired Ice Arrow Level 1 just as he expected. He looks on with a grim expression, the thrill of new power overshadowed by the pain of the attack. He is sent flying backward, the force of the ice magic too much for his small body to handle. A critical health warning appears, his HP dropping to a dangerously low level from the attack. He grits his teeth in frustration, realizing how foolish he was to take such a direct hit. He turns to his sister, a look of pain and exhaustion on his face as he struggles to stand. She scolds him for his reckless actions, asking who gave him permission to save her in the first place. She calls him the weakest of the siblings, questioning who he thinks he is to be saving anyone. He realizes that she has misunderstood his intentions, a look of confusion on his face. She then questions when he learned magic, her eyes fixed on a new enemy in the distance. He sees the defeated mage and realizes his sister took care of the threat herself. He understands that she thinks he saved her, a misconception that could work to his advantage. He is surprised by a sudden flash of green light, a new and unfamiliar sensation. Felicia kneels beside him, her hands glowing with a warm, healing energy. She places her hands on his chest, channeling her magic to mend his wounds. A piece of cloth on his chest glows with the healing energy. The magic working its wonders. A system notification appears confirming he has acquired Heal Level 1. She asks if he's feeling better, and he confirms that his health is now full, a term she doesn't understand. A strange, otherworldly sound echoes through the camp, catching both of their attention. A massive red-skinned ogre with glowing eyes appears, its presence radiating immense power. Sutra recognizes it as a blood ogre, a powerful and dangerous ogre mutation. They stand together ready to face the new and formidable threat that stands in their way. The prince panics, wondering how they are supposed to fight such a powerful monster. The massive blood ogre slams its fist into the ground, unleashing a shockwave that sends the siblings flying back. The young prince is shocked by its incredible speed, wondering how a creature that large can move so fast. His sister tells him to distract it so she can use magic, but he panics, asking how he can possibly do that. The force of the attack sends them both tumbling through the air as he lets out a desperate cry. He quickly gets an idea and tells his sister to prepare her magic while he draws its attention, but she looks confused by his words. The youth calls out for Carrick, who appears nearby. He tells the orc to get ready just like last time. As he runs, the prince summons a translucent screen in front of him. Accessing his inventory, he selects an item from the menu, the dwarf dagger, thinking he should be able to use it now. A golden light flashes as the weapon materializes in his hand, ready for the fight ahead. The dagger glows with a brilliant light, humming with a powerful energy. He crouches low and plunges the glowing blade into the ground, releasing a wave of golden power. The prince activates a skill under the king's banner, channeling the energy directly into his orc companion. Carrick roars as the golden aura surrounds him, greatly amplifying his strength and determination. The warrior's eyes widen, feeling the immense power now flowing through his body. The blood ogre watches this transformation, its expression turning serious as it faces a newly empowered foe. Now glowing with power, Carrick stands his ground, ready to challenge the giant red creature. With a powerful leap, the orc warrior charges forward, swinging his massive weapon at the enemy. The blood ogre lets out a ferocious growl, meeting the attack head-on with its own crude weapon. Their weapons clash with immense force as Carrick skillfully deflects the powerful blow from the monster. The empowered orc and the massive blood ogre are now locked in a fierce and earth-shaking struggle. The massive blood ogre grunts, its muscles straining under the immense pressure from Carrick's empowered attack. As the two giants are locked in a stalemate, the princess leaps into the air, her body glowing with pink energy. With a determined look, she gathers her magic, preparing to strike the distracted monster from behind. She then unleashes a powerful blast of energy directly at the back of the blood ogre's legs. The magical attack hits its target, causing the huge creature to lose its footing and stumble. Roaring in pain and surprise, the monster topples backward, its large body completely defenseless. Carrick seizes the opportunity, leaping high into the air above the falling beast for a final attack. With a grim expression, the orc warrior declares that the long and difficult battle is finally over. He dives down like a meteor, aiming his weapon directly at the exposed chest of the fallen creature. The blood ogre lets out a final cry of agony as the decisive blow lands with incredible force. The empowered orc warrior drives his weapon deep into the monster's chest, ending its rampage for good. After the dust settles, the young prince walks calmly across the battlefield towards the defeated enemy. He smiles with relief, thinking he has won and dealt with the most troublesome foe in the camp. Suddenly, a bright golden aura erupts around him, catching the young man completely off guard. He looks around in confusion as a translucent system window appears before his eyes. The notification announces that he has leveled up, finally reaching the important milestone of level 10. Another message confirms that his unique protagonist buff skill has also increased in level. A confident smirk forms on his face as he thinks about the new power he has just gained. The system informs him that a new passive skill has been added, and he decides to open his present box. He looks at the reward in disbelief, realizing he has just obtained the legendary Stormtrooper effect. He thinks about the common trope where dozens of bullets miraculously miss the main character in action scenes. With his new skill, he believes he can now recreate that very same protagonist buff effect for himself, but his thoughts are interrupted by the roar of a charging horde of red orcs rushing toward them. His sister snaps him out of it, warning him that the enemies are closing in fast. The princess glares at the approaching horde, her face a mask of annoyance and determination. She summons a raging whirlwind, commanding it to swirl and tear through the enemy soldiers. The young prince stands firm as the powerful winds rush past him, a look of surprise on his face. He observes her power closely, realizing that what she just unleashed is not ordinary magic. He sees ethereal butterflies dancing in the vortex and understands she is commanding a spirit. He recalls that Felicia was a born spirit user, a trait of elves, even corrupted dark elves. He watches her effortlessly control the powerful storm, her enemies completely helpless within it. A mischievous thought crosses his mind as he wonders if he could try attacking the spirit himself. Suddenly, a bright yellow signal flare streaks across the sky, exploding high above the camp. The orc warriors on the battlefield stop and look up at the bright signal from their general. Carrick asks what the flare means, and the prince explains that yellow is the signal to retreat. The youth immediately grows concerned, wondering if someone is in grave danger somewhere else. Carrick asks for his orders, and the prince tells him to lead the troops and pull back as commanded. He then declares his intention to go find their sister Caitlin, shocking his loyal subordinate. Carrick protests, saying he will go with the prince, but the youth insists he follows the retreat order. Just then, Felicia steps forward and says she will go with her brother, leaving Carrick speechless. The princess states she dislikes owing debts and wants a chance to pay him back for saving her life. Carrick adds that he also has his own score to settle with the enemy soldiers. The orc warrior finally relents, telling the prince to be careful while he waits. The youth agrees. As they walk, she questions the need to check on Caitlin. He cites the suspicious retreat order. His sister then looks at him intently, asking if he is genuinely worried about Caitlin. He claims it's natural for siblings to worry, though he secretly just sees her as a valuable ally. Felicia quietly considers his answer with a thoughtful, almost skeptical expression. They make their way through the now chaotic and war-torn enemy encampment under the starlit sky. Meanwhile, in another part of the camp, a horde of red orcs lets out a furious roar as they charge. Their target is Caitlin, who stands her ground alone, facing the overwhelming number of enemies. Her gaze is sharp and focused, showing no fear as she prepares for the intense battle ahead. She unleashes a series of powerful energy blasts, stopping the first wave of attackers in their tracks. The orcs roar in pain as the explosions erupt around them, but more soldiers continue to press forward. An enemy throws a weapon, but she easily dodges the attack, her movements fluid and precise. She then summons a glowing blade of pure energy, preparing to go on the offensive. With a powerful swing, she unleashes a crescent-shaped wave of energy that cuts through several orcs. Just then, the prince and Felicia arrive to find Caitlin standing victorious among fallen enemies. He observes the scene with a relieved smile, realizing there was never any need to worry. Caitlin turns to them, demanding to know why he came here instead of following the retreat order. She looks genuinely confused by his flustered explanation that he came to help her. The siblings stand together, their presence intimidating as they prepare to leave the enemy camp. Caitlin suddenly runs forward and gives Felicia a tight hug, exclaiming her name in relief. She expresses how glad she is to see her sister is safe after being captured by the enemy. Felicia blushes slightly, telling her she worries too much about unnecessary things. The prince watches their interaction with a small smile, remarking on how well they seem to get along. He quickly checks his map, seeing enemy forces closing in on their position. A system window appears as he quickly confirms the enemy's movements. He urges everyone to retreat quickly, and Caitlin tells him to lead the way while they cover the rear. They arrive at a hidden portal surrounded by allied orc soldiers who had been waiting for them. A bright blue light emanates from the portal as the siblings prepare to step through it. They step onto the glowing sigil, and the portal activates, transporting them away from the battlefield. Caitlin asks if it was Stratus who found the portal, and Felicia confirms he made a big contribution. Carrick wonders aloud how the prince has changed so much recently, his curiosity piqued. Their older brother Chris watches as they return safely, his expression serious and unreadable. The muscular warrior calls out to his younger brother, his voice echoing in the large chamber. Caitlin happily reports that she brought Felicia back safely from the enemy encampment. Felicia greets Chris, noting that it has been a while since they last saw each other. He remains silent for a moment, his gaze fixed on her with an unreadable expression. Caitlin speaks up again, informing him that General Vandal's forces were also victorious. Chris explains that the enemy gave up fighting after seeing their main base burning to the ground. The prince repeats the name with a confused look and Caitlin explains it's the enemy chieftain. Felicia then asks if Yakuza surrendered, but Chris clarifies that he just fled and could still be a threat. The older brother announces their plan to attack another enemy unit tomorrow, preventing them from regrouping. After outlining the strategy, he asks Felicia how she ended up getting captured by the enemy. She claims she was researching ruins nearby, heard the battle, and was captured while trying to help. Chris gives her a skeptical look, clearly doubting the truth of her explanation. With a slight smile, she asks why he thinks her story sounds like a lie not backing down. The tension between the two siblings is palpable as they exchange a silent, challenging stare. Her confident gaze meets his suspicious one, hinting at a complicated history between them. Chris decides to drop the subject, suggesting everyone is tired and should rest for the night. Felicia agrees with his suggestion and the siblings finally part ways to get some sleep. Elsewhere in the camp, the Allied soldiers enjoy a well-deserved meal and rest around the fire. Meanwhile, the young prince sits alone, happily reviewing his newly acquired skills on the system screen. Despite his new magical abilities, he realizes his most reliable combat skill is still his aura. His thoughts are interrupted when Felicia appears at his door asking to speak with him. He asks what she wants at such a late hour, but she just stands there with a serious expression. She calls his name again, her face unreadable as she walks slowly towards the confused youth. Without any warning, she suddenly reaches out and grabs the front of his clothes, pulling him forward. He is completely stunned by her sudden and aggressive action, unable to form a proper response. Leaning in close, she then makes a very unexpected request, asking him to take off his clothes. The young prince is completely flustered by her request, his face blushing as he stammers in confusion. She calmly points to his clothes, repeating her request without any hesitation or embarrassment. Still blushing, he asks her why on earth she would want him to do something like that. Felicia clarifies her intentions, asking if he doesn't want her to treat the injuries he sustained in battle. He looks at her with wide, surprised eyes, a wave of relief washing over his face as he understands. She explains that the healing she performed earlier was just basic first aid to stabilize him. Worried about internal injuries, she wants to cast a proper healing spell, much to his slight disappointment. She then asks about his body glowing, but he quickly dismisses it as something that just happens sometimes. He seizes the opportunity to change the subject, telling her he has a favor to ask of her. The prince adds that it's a favor only she can grant, a mischievous look appearing on his face. Thanks to her cooperation, he manages to acquire 3 new skills: Cure, Cure Poison, and Cure Disease. Now fully clothed again, he looks at his new abilities with a satisfied and triumphant smile. By having her cast different healing spells on him, he successfully learned them for himself. Later, he begins his training with Caitlin, who explains that Beast Fist has many different branches. She announces that he will finally learn the technique, starting with the werewolf Beast Fist style. A glowing blue emblem of a werewolf appears, symbolizing the martial art of the lycanthropes. This specific style is the foundation for the more advanced Beast God Fist, making it a crucial lesson. Caitlin explains that the technique uses both internal and external aura, and today's lesson will focus on internal aura control. He closes his eyes as instructed, focusing his concentration as a blue and purple aura begins to glow around him. With intense focus, he successfully taps into his internal energy, feeling the flow of his own aura. He visualizes his aura, the very power of life, coursing through his hands and feet like lightning. This energy is infinitely close to the power of the soul, and when pushed to its limit, it can become one with it. As he masters this control, a system notification suddenly appears before him, announcing a new passive skill. He is surprised to see he has acquired Protagonist Body, a skill he has never heard of before. The skill's description reveals it greatly boosts training efficiency and unlocks new traits upon leveling up. He is completely shocked, realizing that he has just obtained another incredibly powerful cheat-like skill. He compares it to the passive skills of his rivals, realizing his new ability is just as potent. He understands that this skill evolves, adding completely new functions each time it levels up. A confident and slightly wicked grin spreads across his face as he thinks about the possibilities. He clenches his fists, feeling an exhilarating thrill, believing this is the true power of a protagonist. Caitlin snaps him out of his daydream, scolding him for losing focus. He quickly apologizes for the distraction. She tells him it's time to learn Beast Fist properly now, and he eagerly agrees to her lesson. He successfully channels his aura, and a notification confirms he has acquired Beast Fist Level 1. His sister is amazed, remarking on how quickly and perfectly he executed the basic movements. The prince looks at his glowing hands, feeling a power so tangible it's like holding a weapon. Just as Caitlin is about to continue, a werewolf soldier rushes into the training area with an urgent look. He reports that something terrible has happened, catching both the prince and his sister by surprise. Their brother Chris appears and delivers the grim news that Chiron's entire unit has vanished. The siblings immediately gather around a large map on a table to assess the new troubling situation. Chris concludes the enemy must have figured out their strategy, and Caitlin asks what their next move is. Chris points to a specific location on the map, explaining that it's the likely meeting point for the two enemy forces. The young prince analyzes the terrain and position, agreeing that the prediction is most likely correct. Concluding they must make a decisive move, Chris announces they will join forces with General Vandal. The scene shifts to the main forces base, a large military camp set against a mountainous backdrop. A massive red-skinned orc general greets Chris, welcoming him to the subjugation forces headquarters. Chris returns the greeting with a confident smile, remarking that the general looks the same as always. Vandal then greets the princesses, but the young prince interrupts, asking about his own subordinates. The youth recalls that the general was his most used character in the original game, making him feel familiar. He steps forward and introduces himself to Vandal, extending a hand for a handshake. The general pauses for a moment, surprised by the young prince's bold and confident demeanor. He then firmly shakes the Uda's hand, formally welcoming the ninth prince to his forces. Elsewhere, a mysterious woman with long white hair and mismatched eyes descends from a brilliant light. Her gaze is regal and intense, her presence commanding an aura of immense, almost divine power. She is met by another powerful figure, a woman clad in fiery red armor that radiates intense heat. The armored warrior is surrounded by flames, her own power seeming to rival that of the first woman. The two powerful women stare each other down, their auras clashing in a silent display of strength. The tension between them is palpable as they prepare for a confrontation of epic proportions. A young man, the prince, stands between them, a look of shock and disbelief on his face. He watches the two powerful women, a bead of sweat running down his cheek as he feels their immense auras. The word conquest appears along with a powerful emblem, hinting at a new and dangerous conflict. A second emblem appears representing war. Setting the stage for the massive conflict to come, the young prince sits up in his bed, the morning light filtering into his tent as he collects his thoughts. With a sudden jolt, he realizes the intense vision he just witnessed was only a dream. He recalls the woman with mismatched eyes, certain he has seen her in his dreams before this one. But he remains completely clueless about the identity of the mysterious woman in fiery red armor. Carrick calls out from the tent's entrance, telling the prince it's time to depart for the battle. The youth and his loyal orc subordinate leave the tent and head out to join the main army. The camp is bustling with activity as soldiers carry supplies, preparing for the impending march. The prince goes over the battle plan, noting that he has been assigned to command the left wing. Vandal will lead the center, Chris and Caitlin the right, while the agile dark elves form a separate rear unit. Time seems to fly by as the combined forces begin their advance towards the enemy's position. The next thing he knows, he finds himself standing in the middle of a vast, chaotic battlefield. He is surrounded by thousands of allied soldiers facing an equally massive enemy army across the field. General Vandal's voice rings out, ordering all soldiers to assume their combat positions immediately. With a grim and determined look, the general vows to teach their enemies the true meaning of pain. He raises his axe high and gives the final command, ordering all forces to charge forward. The enemy army, a horde of red orcs with shields and swords, rushes to meet their advance. The enemy chieftain watches the charging army with a sinister and mocking smile on his face. As he calls them foolish, a massive explosion suddenly erupts in the middle of Vandal's forces. The general looks on in complete shock, completely unprepared for such a devastating and unexpected attack. The orc general stands frozen in shock, his eyes wide as he processes the devastating surprise attack. Towering behind the enemy lines, a monstrous swamp mammoth with glowing red eyes reveals itself as the source. Vandal recognizes the terrifying beast with a look of pure dread, his voice trembling as he names it. More magical explosions continue to detonate within the ranks of the Allied forces, spreading chaos. The battlefield is engulfed in fire and smoke as countless soldiers are sent flying by the relentless barrage. The initial charge has been completely broken, turning the battlefield into a scene of utter destruction. Standing with his own unit, the young prince and Carrick watch the unfolding disaster with grim expressions. The youth grits his teeth in frustration, realizing their entire army has walked directly into a deadly trap. As the mammoth continues its rampage, he understands the enemy knew their strategy from the very beginning. This creature is no ordinary beast, its sheer size and power far surpassing that of a normal mammoth. With its menacing red eyes glowing in the smoke, the monster is a genuine and terrifying threat. A red aura flares up around the prince as he prepares himself for the inevitable fight ahead. But before he can act, another enemy emerges from the chaos, its sharp claws digging into the ground. A new wave of reptilian warriors, lizardmen armed with swords, joins the battle against the Allied forces. The Allied orc soldiers look on in horror as this new and unexpected enemy appears on the battlefield. The prince turns his head, his eyes widening as he sees the lizardmen charging toward their position. The reptilian soldiers tear through the disorganized ranks, adding to the ever-growing chaos. A ferocious lizard man leaps directly toward the prince, its mouth open in a terrifying roar. The creature swings its weapon down with deadly force, aiming to strike the stunned youth. Carrick's voice suddenly roars, warning everyone to snap out of it before they are all killed. The prince quickly snaps back to reality, realizing this is a real battle and not just a game. On the right flank, Chris fights fiercely, realizing the enemy knew their plans all along. Caitlin suggests they should retreat and wait for another opportunity to strike back. She argues that pressing on could lead to even greater losses, possibly even the entire army's annihilation. Her brother is torn, but he knows she is right. Continuing the fight now would be a grave mistake. With a heavy heart, Chris makes the difficult decision and issues a command to his forces. He orders the mages to form a defensive line and buy time for the rest of the army. The rest of the troops are to form ranks and retreat as quickly and orderly as possible. He roars at his soldiers, ordering them to survive and return no matter what happens on the battlefield. Later, the surviving soldiers have retreated to a temporary camp set up in a secluded canyon. Healers tend to the wounded, their green magic glowing as they mend the injuries of the exhausted soldiers. In the command tent, Chris admits his own complacency, wishing he had been more suspicious. General Vandal tells him what's done is done, and their only options are to retreat or call for reinforcements. The older prince agrees, unwilling to sacrifice his subordinates for a vain attempt at glory. But just as he is about to give the order, Felicia interrupts, announcing she has an idea. She reminds them her original purpose for being in the area was to explore some ancient ruins. The prince recalls that in the game, she was an excellent mage but specialized in research, not combat. Felicia unrolls a map pointing to a location in the Jashuka Mountains, the site of the ruins. She explains that she has been researching a 500-year-old ruin known as the lair of the earth dragon Enkidu. The dragon born from lava employed various powerful guardians to protect its lair and its vast treasures. She continues, explaining that among these guardians were the dwarves who lived in the Jashuka Mountains. The dragon had them forge special weapons to protect its home. Felicia reveals the name of this legendary weapon, the thunder-birthing anvil. It can control chimeras and cast magic powerful enough to wipe out an entire army. A hand slams down firmly on the map right over the depiction of the powerful anvil, signifying a decision has been made. The princess declares with absolute conviction that if they want to win this war, finding this weapon is their only real option. General Vandal asks Felicia if she knows the anvil's exact location, since she originally came to this area to find it. Chris dismisses her idea, saying her information isn't much help if she doesn't know where the weapon is. He argues they can't risk everyone's lives on a treasure hunt when the enemy might attack again at any time. Felicia glares at her brother, upset by his words, and insists that the legendary anvil is definitely here. At that moment, the young prince steps forward with a serious expression, catching his sister by surprise. He explains he has seen the anvil in the game and also read about it while studying dwarven stories. The youth continues speaking with confidence, turning to face his siblings and the skeptical general. He finishes by stating that most importantly, he believes in Sister Felicia, leaving her momentarily stunned. She looks at her younger brother, touched by his sudden support, while he thinks this is a good chance to score points. Chris argues that it is not about who to trust, but the prince internally notes how persistent his brother is. The youth then points to the map, revealing that the Gandharv tribe also has similar legends about this place. He gestures to a specific mountain, certain the ruin entrance is located there and that he can find it. He promises to take full responsibility if they fail, asking for their trust just this one time. Later, a small group flies through the dark night sky on glowing phantom steeds, summoned by Felicia. The expedition team, cloaked for the journey, glides silently on their magical mounts toward the mountains. The prince is relieved they managed to leave to find the anvil, but now he has another problem to solve. Carrick tells him to hold on tight, but the youth is confident, recalling that he rode these mounts often in the game. He summons a transparent screen in front of him, looking just like a game interface from his past life. According to the mini-map, it will take about an hour to reach the entrance, making navigation easy for him. He thinks the real challenge is figuring out how to guide the others to the location in a natural way. The prince concentrates, trying to think of a convincing excuse to lead the group without revealing his secret. He decides he just needs to come up with a plan before they arrive, confident that it will all work out somehow. He then blurts out a complex reason about portal maps and terrain features, claiming he can find the location that way. His companions stare at him in stunned silence. The youth internally wonders if his absurd excuse actually worked. After they land, Caitlin asks what he meant. He feels frustrated, but she just tells him to lead the way. The young man turns to his other sister, hoping for some kind of support for his desperate plan. Felicia calmly says she understood everything he said and tells him to lead on, much to his surprise. He is shocked that his made-up story was actually accepted, but quickly recovers and tells everyone to follow him. His older sister watches him go for a moment with a knowing look before turning away with a slight huff. After following him for some time, Carrick points out that they have arrived at a dead end. The entire group stands before a massive solid rock cliff that completely blocks the path forward. The orc questions if the prince really knows where the entrance is. The youth just gives him a confident smirk. His loyal subordinate looks confused when the young man asks when he ever mentioned going to the entrance. The prince then turns to Caitlin, asking if she can break through the rock wall, startling her. She seems to understand his unspoken plan, nervously agreeing to try while wondering what he has in mind. He explains that according to his calculations, this route will allow them to bypass the dungeon's guardians. Felicia interrupts, scolding him and asking how Caitlin could possibly break the wall with her fists. She sarcastically questions if he thinks his sister is a siege weapon, leaving him confused about how to proceed. With a confident smirk, she explains that ruin explorers specialize in destruction as she gathers blue energy. She then unleashes a powerful blast of crackling magic, sending it hurtling toward the solid rock wall. The magical energy slams into the cliffside, resulting in a massive explosion that echoes through the canyon. Felicia looks on in disbelief, stunned when she realizes that her powerful magic had no effect on the rock wall. But once the dust clears, a large chamber is revealed, making her wonder if they really found it so easily. The group enters the ancient hall, where Carrick asks about a dome in the center, and the prince confirms it holds the anvil. The orc suggests breaking the dome, but the youth advises against it, warning that they could damage the precious artifact inside. Felicia agrees with him, concluding there must be a specific mechanism designed to safely open the protective barrier. She then turns her head, her sharp eyes noticing something else about the large silent chamber they are in. The young prince points out the statues look odd, as 3 of them are holding weapons while 6 are empty-handed. Caitlin realizes they must give weapons to the remaining statues, but her brother says the solution is not that simple. He explains that the armed statues hold dwarf-made weapons, meaning they need to find more of them to solve the puzzle. Just as they wonder where to get such items, the prince reveals he has exactly 6 of them, leaving Felicia shocked. He internally recalls storing weapons he couldn't use in his inventory, feeling fortunate that they are now useful. He tells everyone he brought spares from a previous exploration, but Carrick is suspicious of how he carried so many. The youth internally curses the orc's sharp instincts before complaining about how heavy the weapons are. After he hands them out, the last of the 6 dwarf-made swords is placed into a statue's empty stone hands. The moment the final weapon is set, the eyes of the statue suddenly light up with a brilliant blue glow. A bright pillar of light then erupts from the center of the chamber, startling the entire group. They all watch in amazement as the protective dome slowly begins to retract and open on its own. The young prince stares with wide eyes, completely captivated by the legendary object being revealed before him. In the center of the room, the anvil that births thunder hovers, radiating an immense and powerful aura. The group stands in awe before the legendary artifact, the anvil that births thunder, which floats with a powerful glow. But Felicia explains there is one final procedure they must perform to properly operate the ancient device. She instructs the prince and Carrick to remain where they are while the others position themselves around the glowing disc. The plan is to inject magic power into the platform, starting with her and gradually increasing the amount clockwise. Everyone moves to their designated spots, forming a circle around the anvil as they get ready to begin the ritual. Felicia tells them to focus and begins the process, gathering crackling blue energy between her outstretched hands. A web of electrical energy connects them all as they pour their magic into the device, making the entire room with power. She suddenly shouts at her brother, urging him to channel more magic power into the ritual, and he quickly obeys. The princess encourages the group to maintain the energy flow, warning them not to let their guard down for even a moment. The two siblings continue to channel their power, and the immense magical pressure builds around the glowing artifact. He grits his teeth with a look of intense concentration, focusing all his energy on the demanding activation ritual. Suddenly, a massive bolt of lightning erupts from the anvil, shooting straight up and blasting through the mountain's peak. The bright flash of light fades, leaving the young prince disoriented as he finds himself in a completely different place. He is now in a vast fiery chamber surrounded by the bodies of countless defeated dwarven warriors. The scene is one of utter devastation, with the fallen dwarves stretching out as far as the eye can see. A commanding voice suddenly echoes through the chamber, and the youth looks around in shock and confusion. He quickly looks up toward the ceiling, trying to locate the source of the powerful voice that booms from above. His eyes widen in pure disbelief as he sees the immense and terrifying figure descending from the smoke-filled sky. A colossal black dragon with glowing red eyes hovers over the battlefield, its presence radiating overwhelming power. The massive beast then unleashes a devastating torrent of fire, engulfing the entire chamber in a wave of flames. The dragon's voice booms in his mind, commanding its servants to guard the great nest of Enkidu. The massive beast orders him to block the path that connects the demon and human realms. Its final command is for him to become the gatekeeper, a solemn and heavy responsibility. The intense vision suddenly ends, leaving the young prince lying dazed on the cold stone floor of the ruins. He shakily sits up, certain he just saw a black dragon, and realizes it must be the legendary earth dragon Enkidu. A voice calls out to him, and he looks up to see his sister Felicia, asking if he also saw the vision. She describes seeing a huge black dragon with lava flowing through its body, confirming his experience. Carrick then admits he saw the dragon too, leading the prince to realize they all shared the same mysterious vision. Felicia confirms this, though she admits she does not know what it means for them or their mission. She turns to the artifact, certain that they will find the answers they seek by using the anvil. With a determined look, the princess steps forward, getting closer to the crackling and glowing artifact. But as she reaches for it, a sudden burst of dark purple energy erupts from her body, surprising everyone. The dark energy quickly engulfs her, and she seems to be in immense pain as she struggles against its power. Her face is contorted in agony as the powerful dark aura rages uncontrollably around her. The prince cries out her name in alarm, watching as the volatile energy intensifies and overwhelms her completely. As he reaches out to help, she weakly tells him to stop, but her voice is lost in the chaotic energy. He grabs her hand anyway, trying to pull her back, but is immediately caught in the powerful dark aura himself. A massive explosion of violent purple energy erupts from the two siblings and the anvil, flooding the entire chamber. Their companions can only watch in horror, shouting their names in desperation as the blast consumes them. The prince screams in agony as the uncontrolled power surges through him, threatening to tear him apart. A single word echoes in his mind: conquer, as he is consumed by the earth dragon's immense magic power. He realizes this must be a trial for those not permitted to touch the anvil, a test he now has to face. His vision is filled with a bright flash of light as the word conquest burns into his mind. The eruption of dark magic finally subsides, leaving a lingering purple haze around the now silent anvil. Carrick and Caitlin can only stare in shock. Watching the aftermath of the chaotic magical explosion, the dust settles to reveal the young prince kneeling on the ground, his body still crackling with purple energy. He supports his sister with one arm, a strange dark weapon now clutched in his other hand. A shadowy aura covers the right side of his face as one of his eyes glows with a menacing purple light. Meanwhile, back at the temporary camp, the remaining Allied soldiers are unaware of the looming danger. High on the cliffs overlooking the canyon, Red Orc scouts watch the unsuspecting camp below. One of them uses a spyglass, confirming the enemy's location with a sinister grin on his face. He mockingly laughs at the foolish soldiers, confident that their hiding spot has been completely exposed. He then turns to his superior, asking if they should launch a direct and immediate attack on the camp. The powerful orc chieftain of the Red Lightning tried Yakuzan listens to his subordinate's report. He gives the order for all of his warriors to prepare for battle, declaring it is time to clean up the remaining trash. Suddenly, the Allied soldiers in the camp look up in alarm, startled by a strange sound from above. A barrage of fiery meteors rains down from the night sky, heading straight for their vulnerable position. The camp is immediately engulfed in a series of massive explosions as the magical attack devastates the area. From the cliffs, a massive army of red orcs and war mammoths begins its descent toward the burning camp. The red orc horde charges forward with ferocious battle cries, ready to slaughter any survivors of the initial attack. Chris curses their terrible situation, realizing that without their strongest fighters, the army is about to be wiped out. He can only watch from a distance as the fiery explosions continue to devastate their Turtapur camp. Meanwhile, the Red Orc chieftain laughs at the foolish demons, saying they deserve this for their arrogance. He orders his mages to kill all the remaining soldiers, and they begin to gather magical energy for the final blow. One of the mages channels a powerful purple aura into his hand, preparing to unleash a devastating spell. But he suddenly stops in confusion, looking down in shock as he finds himself completely unable to move his hands. At that moment, the swamp mammoth is enveloped in the same purple energy, its eyes glowing with a menacing light. The charging red orc warriors on the ground halt, confused as to why their own forces have suddenly stopped. The massive beast then turns on its own army, unleashing a devastating magical blast upon the unsuspecting orcs. The chieftain watches from the cliffs, his triumphant expression turning to one of utter disbelief and confusion. He roars in anger, demanding to know what is happening and why their own war beast is attacking them. Back in the canyon, Chris watches the mammoth turn on the enemy, just as bewildered by the sudden turn of events. He stares in utter shock, trying to process this unbelievable and fortunate development on the battlefield. A sudden thought strikes him as he stares at the purple aura, realizing the prince must have found the anvil. Back in the ruins, the prince is kneeling, crackling with purple energy and holding a dark, powerful weapon. He continues to support his unconscious sister, the newly acquired hammer glowing ominously in his hand. He recognizes it as the Thunder Hammer, the legendary weapon that is meant to be paired with the anvil. A dark elf helps Felicia to her feet and tells the young prince that it seems the dragon Enkidu has chosen him. The youth is completely stunned by her words, looking up in disbelief, unable to process the revelation. His sister then tells him he needs to use the hammer as the entire group watches him, waiting for his next move. He now understands that the dragon's magic power has taught him how to properly wield the hammer. He recalls the intense trial where he was conquered and forced to submit to the overwhelming power of the anvil. The very concept of conquest was burned into his mind, changing his understanding of true strength. He now realizes that to conquer is to dominate, and to dominate is to rule, which is the true purpose of the anvil. With this newfound knowledge, he confidently raises the dark thunder hammer, his purple energy crackling around him. A confident smirk spreads across his face as he decides his first act will be to dominate the swamp mammoth. He then strikes the anvil with the hammer, unleashing a massive wave of purple energy that surges out from the ruins. On the distant battlefield, the swamped mammoth roars as it becomes enveloped in the same powerful purple aura. The massive beast immediately turns on its own army, unleashing a devastating attack upon the unsuspecting red orcs. The enemy soldiers scream in terror and confusion, completely unprepared for the sudden betrayal of their war beast. Chaos and destruction spread through their ranks as the controlled mammoth continues its relentless rampage. The red orc chieftain watches from the cliffs, his face a mask of disbelief as he sees his forces being decimated. General Vandal sees the mammoth attacking the enemy and realizes the prince and his companions must have succeeded. He immediately seizes the opportunity, ordering his allied forces to charge forward and wipe out the enemy. The allied orcs clash with the disorganized Red Lightning tribe, pressing their advantage in the chaotic battle. The enemy chieftain stands frozen on the cliff, watching helplessly as his entire army falls into disarray. A subordinate asks how this is happening, and the chieftain admits he doesn't know who is wielding such power. When his subordinate suggests they should retreat for now, the chieftain roars in fury at the mere thought. At that moment, Chris appears behind him, landing a powerful blow that sends the unprepared chieftain stumbling. The prince's brother glares at his foe, telling him that this is far as his destructive conquest will go. He offers to kill the chieftain painlessly if he surrenders, but the proud warrior only responds with a furious roar. The enraged orc leaps into the air, vowing to tear him to shreds for his insulting offer. But Chris is ready for him, unleashing a powerful Beast Lord Fist attack to meet the chieftain's charge. The two powerful warriors clash in a devastating explosion of force that sends shock waves across the cliff. The remaining red orcs watch in horror as their chieftain is defeated, their morale completely shattered. The prince's brother looks down at his bloodied hand, knowing he now just needs to clean up the rest of the enemy. Later, he stands with his younger siblings, admitting that they would have been in real trouble without their help. He then looks off into the distance, a concerned expression on his face, as he wonders if they are okay. Back in the ruins, the others watch a magical projection showing the controlled mammoth rampaging through the enemy. The dark elf is still in awe, realizing that with the anvil's power, the Red Lightning tribe is being utterly destroyed. A look of grim satisfaction crosses her face as she watches the enemy's complete and total annihilation. But as she speaks, she suddenly collapses, weakened from the earlier magical backlash from the artifact. Her companions rush to her side, and she reassures them that she will be fine after a little rest. The dark elf offers to prepare a place for her to rest, but then notices that the young prince is gone. A moment later, they find him outside the ruins, sitting alone and looking up at the sky. He breathes a sigh of relief as a series of notifications appear, informing him that he has leveled up multiple times. He is surprised by the sudden and massive increase in his level, wondering if it is because he used the anvil. Another notification then appears, informing him that his conquest skill has also leveled up. He opens his status window and is thrilled to see that his Under the King's Banner skill has leveled up as well. A confident smirk spreads across his face as he realizes his main skill is getting stronger, which is great news for him. He also notices a new skill called King's Knights, guessing from its name that it is some kind of summoning ability. Just then, a voice calls out his name, snapping him out of his thoughts with a sudden jolt. He turns to see his sister Caitlin walking toward him with a concerned look on her face. He greets her with a cheerful smile, realizing he had left the ruins without telling anyone where he was going. But before he can apologize, he receives a powerful chop to the head from his angry older sister. She scolds him for disappearing without a word, and he can only apologize for worrying her. She tells him it's fine as long as he is safe, but then says they will have to camp there for the night. He is confused by this, but she explains that while that was the original plan, they now have a problem. A look of concern crosses his face as he wonders what kind of problem could have come up now. Caitlin explains that their sister Felicia has lost consciousness and is now in a deep sleep. She says that Felicia had pushed herself too hard after being captured by the Red Lightning tribe. Even though she said she would be fine with some rest, she collapsed and has not woken up since. His sister then explains that without Felicia, they cannot summon the phantom steeds to fly back to the main camp. The young prince agrees with her plan, but he can't help but feel worried about his sister's condition. Later that night, the small group rests in the now quiet ruins, waiting for their companion to recover. The prince notices that his health has fully recovered, likely due to the massive level up he just received. He is surprised that he is not tired at all and wonders if he will have to wait like this until morning. A sudden thought then strikes him as he looks around the ancient and mysterious chamber they are in. He remembers that they are inside a ruin, which means there must be hidden treasures and weapons deeper within. Of course, he also knows that such treasures will be protected by all sorts of dangerous traps and powerful guardians. He clutches the thunder hammer, a confident smirk on his face as he realizes he is now the ruler of the ruins. The anvil's power may only work inside this ruin, but here, it grants him absolute and unmatched authority. In other words, He now has a free pass to explore the entire dungeon without any fear of its dangers. He then wakes up his loyal subordinate Carrick, who is still sleeping soundly on the cold stone floor. With a mischievous grin, the prince tells his groggy companion to come somewhere with him. As they walk deeper into the ruins, the orc nervously asks if it is okay to just enter like this. The prince reassures him and then points out that a ruin like this must contain some decent weapons. As soon as he opens the door to the next chamber, his loyal subordinate lets out a terrified gasp. He points with a trembling finger, warning the prince about a huge monster lying dormant on the floor. The youth calmly explains that it is an arc golem in the form of a griffin, one of the dungeon's powerful guardians. He internally notes that if they had entered normally, they would have likely been killed by this powerful creature. Carrick admits he would rather not fight something so menacing, but the prince just teases him for being a coward. A moment later, the orc's fear turns to excitement as he finds a massive treasure vault filled with riches. He holds up a piece of golden armor, exclaiming that it looks like a high-quality piece of equipment. The prince agrees, noting the faint magical aura and confirming that it is indeed a powerful magic armor. He then asks his loyal subordinate if he wants to take it, much to the orc's delighted surprise. With a smile, the young man says it is too big for him anyway, and Carrick gratefully accepts the generous gift. The prince then picks up a handful of ancient gold coins, deciding to store all the useful items in his inventory. He tells his companion to take anything else he wants as he continues to look around the vast treasure room. As he scans the room, his eyes suddenly fall upon a large ornate chest, and he wonders what it could contain. He opens the chest but finds nothing inside except for a single small button at the bottom. He presses it, and a section of the far wall suddenly begins to glow and retract with a low rumble. A hidden doorway is revealed, leading into a dark secret chamber he had not noticed before. A wide, excited grin spreads across his face as he realizes there must be something special hidden here. He confidently steps into the secret passage, his footsteps echoing in the dark and silent corridor. After a short walk, he emerges into a wide open space at the heart of the hidden chamber. He looks around the massive room, and his eyes immediately lock onto a single object in the center. A powerful artifact floats above a pedestal, radiating a familiar and overwhelmingly powerful dark aura. He instantly recognizes the mana, a sense of familiarity washing over him as he stares at the object. Even though he has never seen it before, its name automatically comes to his mind as if he has always known it. He looks up at the floating artifact, his voice filled with a mix of awe and reverence as he names it. It is Enkidu's gauntlet, also known as Earthshaker, one of the most powerful artifacts in the entire world. The legendary weapon floats silently, its immense power contained within its ancient armored form. The aura of conquest that now flows through him is resonating with the legendary gauntlet. He feels an irresistible pull toward the artifact, a powerful connection that seems to be calling out to him. But as he reaches for it, a series of notifications appear, warning him that his stats are all insufficient. He is shocked, realizing that even with his recent level-ups, he still is not strong enough to handle the gauntlet. Despite the warnings, the powerful artifact continues to glow, its intense aura reaching out to him. A new notification then appears, informing him that the Earthshaker has acknowledged him as its master. The gauntlet's user is then changed to his name, much to his utter surprise and confusion. A brilliant flash of golden light envelopes his hand as the Earthshaker materializes and fuses with his arm. The prince is momentarily blinded by the intense power, feeling the ancient artifact becoming a part of him. He stares in amazement as the gauntlet forms around his hand, and a notification confirms a massive stat boost. He can't believe how much his stats have increased just by equipping the powerful legendary artifact. A confident smirk spreads across his face as he imagines how much stronger he will become as his level increases. He is thrilled with his new acquisition, realizing he has found an even better item than he could have ever expected. Enkidu's gauntlet is now his, a powerful weapon that will undoubtedly change the course of his journey. Suddenly, Carrick's voice startles him, and he quickly turns around, trying to hide the glowing gauntlet. He is shocked to see his subordinates standing there, and the orc reveals he saw everything, including the disappearing glove. The prince feels a bead of sweat run down his cheek, worried that his secret about the inventory has been exposed. But Carrick just tells him not to worry, understanding that it would be troublesome if others found out, with a reassuring grin. He promises to keep the prince's secret even if a knife is held to his throat. The youth is touched by his subordinate's loyalty, and Carrick then asks if they are ready to head back. The prince agrees, a mischievous smile on his face as he thinks about the amazing treasures they have found. He feels a sense of accomplishment and excitement as he and his loyal companion prepare to leave the secret chamber. They walk back through the treasure vault, their footsteps echoing in the now quiet and empty ruins. But just as they are about to leave, the prince suddenly stops, his eyes locking onto something in the distance. He calls out to his companion, urging him to look at something he has just noticed among the piles of treasure. With a wide, excited grin, he points to a small glowing potion, telling Carrick it is exactly what they need right now. The scene then shifts to Felicia, who is shown drinking the potion, its magical properties healing her exhausted body. She slowly opens her eyes, the effects of the powerful potion taking hold and restoring her energy. The prince leans over her, a look of concern on his face as he asks if she is feeling any better. He is relieved to see her awake, and she looks around in confusion, asking what happened. Caitlin explains that her brother brought a magic recovery potion, a proud smile on her face. Felicia is still disoriented, wondering where he could have possibly found such a rare item. The young man playfully reminds her that they are in a ruin, a place filled with all sorts of treasures. She looks at him for a moment, then realizes he is right, feeling a bit foolish for forgetting. With a confident smirk, he tells her that he is the ruler of these ruins, so she has nothing to worry about. He reassures her that she just needs to rest and her magic power will be fully recovered when she wakes up. The prince is surprised when she suddenly thanks him, her voice soft and her cheeks slightly flushed. He is taken aback by her sincere gratitude, and she repeats her thanks with a genuine and warm smile. The next morning, the small group finally returns to the main camp, the sun shining brightly in the sky. General Vandal greets them with a wide, triumphant grin, exclaiming that they have finally arrived. He slaps Carrick on the back, congratulating everyone on their hard work and successful mission. Chris then appears, clearing his throat awkwardly as he looks at his younger siblings. The prince is surprised to see his older brother, who still seems a bit embarrassed by their earlier disagreement. He struggles to find the right words, clearly not used to admitting when he is wrong or praising others, but he finally manages to compliment his sister, telling her that it was a splendid performance. She just smiles, brushing off his praise with a confident and slightly smug look on her face. The young prince watches their heartwarming interaction, a genuine and happy smile on his face. Chris tells them to rest well, saying he will handle the finishing touches, but the prince is confused. The older brother explains that remnants of the enemy tribe are still scattered around the area. The youth considers this, thinking to himself that it sounds like he is about to get a 2-week vacation, but his sister Caitlin suddenly grabs him, angrily telling him that it is certainly not a vacation for him. She then says with a sly smile that her younger brother has things he needs to do with her instead.